Now we're going to jump right back in. I know I'm very much in the same clothes, and I say goodnight at the end of each one of these videos. My son just pointed this out as if I had lost my mind. No. Not everybody watches the whole book from beginning to end. There are some of the people that watch and follow my page that they do a video a night, or they do like a collection, like with the Bluey. They try to get a few of them in, and then they pick up the following night while they're getting ready for baths or for bed or just any of that stuff. That's why I say good night and have a good night, stuff like that. So no, I have not lost my mind. Yes, it is technically the same day here for me, but no, it may not be for another family. And that is why I do that. Now that my son feels better that I have explained myself and haven't gone off the rails, thinking that the day has changed because I finished one video, we're going to jump right back in. And we left off on Chapter 9, Help. And anybody who doesn't know, go back and see the first two. And this is about the Bailey school kids. They are on yet another mission. Martians don't take temperatures. And this is going to be the final installment. So there should be 3 altogether for this one book. Here we go. You guys are scaring me, Liza whispered, or whimpered rather. There's nothing to be scared of, Eddie told her. These guys are totally wrong. Nurse Readings is a little weird, but she's no Martian. Shush, Melanie hissed. There she is. The 4 kids heard Nurse Readings' strange whistling before they saw her. No one said a word as she walked past them into the movie theater. What's she doing here? Melanie whispered. Let's watch her, Howie suggested. Liza shook her finger. We shouldn't do that, she said. That's spying. Eddie grinned. Then let's do it. Eddie is always looking for trouble. Liza sighed, but followed her friends to the theater door. The 4 kids peered around the corner of the door and gasped. Nurse Readings was leaning back in one of the chairs and staring at the ceiling. There was a big smile on her face, and in the low light of the planetarium, her skin looked greener than ever. She didn't even notice the 4 kids staring at her from the doorway. What is she doing? Eddie asked. Shush, Howie warned. She might hear you. Melanie pulled her friends away from the door and whispered, I bet she's watching the movie because she's homesick. Of course, Howie agreed. The movie is so real it makes her think she's back on Mars. Eddie shook his head. You guys have been in orbit a little too long. Liza started to agree with Eddie, but a uniformed worker came up to the kids. How did you like the Mars movie? The worker asked. It was great, Eddie told them. I could see it every day. The worker chuckled and pointed towards Nurse Readings. You'd be like that lady there. She came in yesterday to watch the movie and stayed all evening. She's already seen the show 4 times, and now she's back again. Melanie's eyes got wide, and she spoke slowly. She must really like Mars. The worker laughed again. If I didn't know better, I'd think she was from Mars. The men waved to them and went inside the theater to start the movie. The door closed behind them with a thud. Did you hear that? Howie said. He thinks Nurse Readings is a Martian too. This is a rather unsettling photo, and I know that the artist probably meant for it to be, but it's a little wackadoodle. It's just a bit too much for me. Look at the smile. I don't know. She is definitely delighted to be there. I will say that. It does look rather unhinged, however. He was just kidding, Liza told her friends. Howie started walking towards the outside door. Well, I'm not kidding. We have to do something, and we have to do it now. Chapter 10. It says FATS, but it's like an acronym. F-A-T-S, FATS. I don't know why I showed you like that when I can show you like this. I don't know what that stands for, but we're about to find out. Now, where are you going? Eddie asked Howie as they raced down the sidewalk in front of the planetarium. We'd better go home, Liza told him. We have homework to do. Howie stopped running and pointed next door to the Federal Aeronautic Technology Station, where his dad worked. FATS. Federal Aeronautic Technology Station, FATS. The huge building was totally surrounded by a tall wire fence. This will only take a few minutes, Howie said. I want to ask my dad what we should do. I know what we should do, Eddie told him. We should play video games. Liza put her hands on her hips. No. We should forget about Mars and go do our homework. Howie looked seriously at his friends. The safety of Bailey City is worth 10 minutes of your precious time. Oh, all right, Eddie said, rolling his eyes. Let's get this over with. Howie marched up to the small post and pushed a big button. Static exploded from the little black speaker perched on top of the post. May I help you? A woman's voice boomed from the box. Hi, it's Howie Jones. I'm here to see my dad. Please follow the drive to the front door, the voice said. Slowly, the tall gates beside the post swung open. As soon as the four friends slipped inside, the gates clanked shut. A woman in a long white lab coat met them at the front door and led them to Howie's dad's office. Dr. Jones was working on his computer. He looked just like Howie, only bigger and with gold-rimmed glasses. Hi, kids, Dr. Jones said. What can I do for you? Howie thinks we have Martians here in Bailey City, Eddie blurted out. Dr. Jones smiles. Who knows? Maybe there really are beings from other planets. Liza gasped, and Howie shook his head. No, we're serious, he said. We think our new school nurse may be from Mars, and we need to know how to save the city from her, Melanie explained. Dr. Jones pushed his glasses back up on his nose. I'm not too sure there are such things as Martians. See, I told you, Liza said, folding her arms in front of her chest. But, Dr. Jones continued, if we were being invaded by Martians, there's one way we could get rid of them. How, Melanie? Howie and Eddie asked together. Dr. Jones smiled and took his glasses off. Gather around, and I'll tell you. Oh boy, I think he's got a plan, I tell you what. Chapter 11. Zlapitide. I think that's what it says, Zlapitide. I'm reading it as it is written in my defense. So, Z-L-A-P, Zlap. It. Or Zlapitide? I don't know. You get my point. Here we go. Do you think Howie will try out his dad's plan, Melanie asked. It was early the next morning, and Eddie and Melanie were waiting on the playground for Howie and Liza. A cold wind rattled the bare branches of their favorite oak tree. Melanie hugged her jacket tight, and Eddie stuffed his hands deep in his pockets. A little warm weather wouldn't scare off a real Martian, Eddie said. Besides, Howie's too smart to try his dad's silly plan. That's what worries me, Melanie said seriously. Howie's the smartest kid I know, and he believes Nurse Readings is a Martian. If he's right, Nurse Readings must feel right at home in this cold weather, Eddie joked. Shush, Melanie warned. I think we're about to find out. Long before Miss Nurse Readings came into view, Eddie and Melanie heard her strange whistled tune. The two friends peeked around the fat trunk of the oak tree to watch her as she rounded the corner of Bailey Elementary. Look at that, Eddie whispered. She's not even wearing a coat today. It's just like Howie said, Melanie squeaked. Nobody but a Martian could be that happy in the cold wind. Why are you standing out here, Eddie asked. You must be a Martian, too. Am not, Melanie snapped. Then let's go inside, Eddie said. We can follow Howie's Martian and see what she is up to. It's a pretty good plan. What about Howie and Liza, Melanie asked. Aren't we going to wait for them? They're smart enough to find their way across the playground. Eddie could tell by the way Melanie shivered in the icy wind that she wouldn't argue. He led the way across the playground and into the building. Where did she go, Eddie asked Melanie. Melanie shrugged. Maybe she went into the cafeteria for a moon pie breakfast. Eddie and Melanie made their way through the halls of Bailey Elementary to the cafeteria. Sure enough, Nurse Readings was eating breakfast with a group of Bailey kids. Let's get closer, Melanie said, but a girl with blonde curls got there before them. Carrie plopped down next to Nurse Readings and sniffed. Sounds like you're coming down with something, Nurse Readings told Carrie. Carrie nodded so hard her curly hair bounced. I feel awful. Come with me, Nurse Readings said. I know just the thing to make you all fibbled again. Which we now know means all fixed again, or all better. Nurse Readings handed her tray to Eddie. Please deposit my tray to be cleaned, she asked. Then she marched out of the cafeteria with Carrie. Eddie stared at the tray in his hand and gasped. Nurse Readings' plate was half covered with green cheese. Howie was right, he said. Only a Martian from outer space would eat green cheese. That's not true. It's not true. You know who would eat green cheese? Trap from the Geronimo Stilton series. His cousin would eat any kind of cheese as long as it was free to him. We'll get back to that later. Hurry, we have to save Carrie, Melanie said. Eddie turned the tray in and darted after Melanie to the nurse's office. Carrie almost bumped into them when she skipped out of Nurse Reading's small office. On her forehead was a bright green bandage. Hi, Eddie and Melanie, Carrie said happily. Did you come to see the nurse? No, Melanie said. We came to make sure you were okay. Carrie batted her long eyelashes and grinned. Me? Why, I feel great. As a matter of fact, I'm just zapliteed. Then Carrie skipped down the hall. I'm guessing that means I'm just fabulous, I'm just great, I feel so much better. Zapliteed. Let's not go adding new words to Webster's dictionary, though. Chapter 12, Heat Wave. Good morning, kids, Principal Davis said to Melanie and Howie. Did Nurse Readings get you all flibbled up? Principal Davis had a bright green bandage right on top of his balding head. Oh. Melanie didn't say anything, just nodded and rushed away from the office. Eddie followed her, and they stopped around the first corner. We've got to do something. Melanie hissed. Nurse Readings is taking over the whole school. She even has Principal Davis under her control. What are you guys talking about? Liza asked from behind them. Eddie grabbed Liza on the shoulders. We know you like Nurse Readings, but we think Howie is right. Nurse Readings is a Martian. Liza rolled her eyes. I'll believe that when I see her fly out of here on a spaceship. In other words, yeah, okay, sure, buddy. Just then, Nurse Readings rushed by and burst out the back door. What was that all about? Melanie asked. Liza and Eddie shrugged, but Howie laughed out loud from behind them. Liza, Eddie, and Melanie turned to see a very different-looking Howie. What's with you in Nurse Readings? Liza asked. Eddie giggled. You look like a berserk beach bum. Howie was dressed in sandals, shorts, a flowered shirt, straw hat, and green sunglasses. He was carrying his backpack and a beach umbrella. Maybe so, Howie said, but it worked. Nurse Readings practically flew out of here when I told her a heat wave was on the way. That proves it, Melanie said. She really is a Martian. That doesn't prove any, Liza started to say before she was interrupted by a terrible whistling noise from outside the school. What is that? Eddie asked and pulled open the door. Don't! Howie shouted. But he was too late. Eddie had already opened the door. A huge gust of wind tore into the school and knocked the kids against the wall. Sounds scary. Help! Liza screamed as dust flew all around her. The Martians are coming. In an instant, the wind stopped and a fine red powder splattered all over the kids and the hallway. Yuck, Liza said, sneezing. This stuff is awful! Melanie put her hand on her hips and looked at Liza. I thought you didn't believe in Martians. That's right, Eddie said. You were screaming that the Martians were coming. Liza turned red and shrugged. I didn't know what I was saying. Everything's all right now, Howie said. The only Martian around here is gone now. The four kids looked out the open door at the playground. Red dust covered everything in sight, including the oak tree. I guess Nurse Readings really is gone, Melanie said. Yes, Principal Davis said from behind them. It's true. Bailey City's climate didn't agree with her. It's no wonder with all these crazy dust storms, and now I hear there's talk of a heat wave. Principal Davis walked away, shaking his head and pulling the green bandage from his forehead. You know what that means, Liza said. What? Melanie, Howie, and Eddie asked. Liza giggles. It means everything in Bailey City is all flibbled up. That is the end. Let me know what you guys think in the comments.